So you want to build an app, but you have no experience how to do so. You don't know where to start. You don't even actually know how to start, or even what application is the right application to use to start. Don't worry. This is why today I'm going to be sharing with you guys everything I did as someone that is not technical, I'm not really that smart, go from building an application with zero experience using Claude Code and building a product in 7 days that now I'm launching and acquiring users to start paying. So I'm getting customers. I'm going to show you guys how you guys can do this too as well. And let's just jump to the computer. So this is what I was able to build with Claude in 7 days with no experience. And it's a platform where you can talk to ads. What I mean by that specifically is you can take any brand account, any ad strategy, and you can talk to it and ask it to give you all of the data, ask how much revenue a certain brand makes, how you can improve on your own ads using the data that already exists in the market, and how you can improve content, hooks, all this stuff. So it can give you how much people are spending on their ads. You can figure out what's a good, affiliate product, what's a good affiliate piece of content that brands are even willing to spend money on. So just to show you the entire thing, I don't have any experience. I created that UI UX. Here are some brands that I, for example, follow. Cal AI, I can just click on it and then just ask, how much money they make, what's their average order value, give me your best ad in the last 7 days, and it just does that, right? Like, this entire thing was created with AI. I am not technical whatsoever. I don't know anything. So how do you go about building a product like this? This is where we will go to Claude Code and share the flow of how you build products. All of this was built using AI. All of this. It's basically the top reels section for content that brands are paying money for to promote. What are proven winners, trend arrows, all this stuff. Talk to any brand that you find. Go ahead and add a brand. You can just look one up. For example, Apple. And just add it and start tracking it. Okay, so let's get into how do you build a product like this. All right, so let's get into it. These are the 13 rules that we're about to go through. Anytime that I want to build, I follow these rules strictly. So if you guys want access to this document, let me know in the comments and I can make a shared drive and you guys can access it. So let's just jump right into it. The first rule is ideate in Claude Chat first. Why do I say this? Because usually you just kind of have a vague idea, and when you want to go into it, you want to go and use Claude Code, you have to have something that is very concrete and it has direction. So go to Claude Chat first, write a paragraph of your idea, ideate with Claude Chat, get an idea of what is like a minimal version of an MVP of what your product is in your idea, and then ask it following that to ask you questions, right? So it can find what those boundaries are. And you define all of these things. So the second thing that you should do after ideating with Claude Chat is ask it to create you a .md file. This is essentially like the brain and the rules and the scope of what it is that idea is, and that's what you're going to take the Claude Code and you're going to create a folder. You're going to put the .md file in it. All right, you're going to connect Claude Code to that folder. That means you create a folder on your desktop. You add this file in there, and then you ask Claude Code to read that .md file. Okay, it gives it all of the briefings for the idea, and it's going to identify all the scopes of what it needs to build, what features, what key screens, all of these different things. All right, so this is like everything is in that file. Now, the third thing is always start in plan mode. After you've gone ahead and you've started up your Claude Code, you've asked it to look at the .md file, make sure you are also in plan mode, because this is where it's going to start asking you through questions. It needs to think through things before it just starts executing on code. And you don't want it to go back and forth trying to fix code that it went ahead and started building when there are changes. So you don't want it to go ahead and waste your tokens, essentially. All right, so fourth thing is make Claude ask you questions first. This way it has a better idea and concept on what it is that you are trying to ask for what you want to build. So, all right, the fifth rule is create a memory.md like rules file, and you can do this in Claude Code. So as it's building and as it's asking you questions, right, you input, hey, if I don't want something to happen, put it in the memory.md file. It will create the memory.md file and will create all the rules that you want in the memory. So that means even after a day, 2 or 3 or whatever, it will always look at the context that inside that memory.md file, and it will follow those rules, right? So if you were to say, for example, that I don't want you to use this instance, or I don't want you to use a certain folder, or I don't want, for example, an AI agent that we're going to be spawning in our product to say certain things, right? Put it in the memory.md file, right? Then it would always go back to that, and then know never to do things like that. If there's a bug that you're going through, put in the memory.md file that I need you, before any time you're trying to debug, to ask me, for example, to go into the DevTools or the inspect on the browser so that we can identify it, and you're not wasting tokens trying to figure it out and guess in the back end. So those different things. All right, so those are things that I've used personally, because I've realized if I just kind of let it start doing things, it will waste tokens. And if you're on the Claude Max plan, or like what I am, it'll just abuse it. It'll just swallow all the tokens you have. The sixth thing is use sub-agents. This was a friend was telling me, but for like large tasks that you want done, you can actually just use sub-agents in the instance itself in Claude Code. And what that will do is that will tell Claude to go ahead and release sub-agents for the different subtasks that you have. So it's doing the same functions. It's doing the test cases, doing copy or like research, and then it brings it back, and then Claude Code itself will look over all of the work that the sub-agents did, right? So sometimes it can be a lot faster when you have basically like 8 different tasks that you need to do all at once. So just know that, all right? Now, this is also very important. Manually compact between tasks. What I mean is, when you're using Claude Code, you'll notice it'll start saying after a bunch of requests, compacting. Okay, so what that's happening now is it's essentially compacting this, like all of the messages that have been sent in that one session. Okay, and that will then be put into basically like a summary file, and in that summary file is what is going to be inside of the context window. Not all those 50 messages, but basically like a summary of all of those 50 messages, right? And that is what it's going to now use as its context. So something that you've sent, for example, like message number 5, like at 50, that 5th message that you sent is going to sometimes be forgotten, okay? So anytime that you want to do new tasks, which we'll get into the next rule, is new chat for each new task. Okay? So you need to use separate Claude Code instances. What that means is, like, if you're using Claude Code in your terminal, you're just making another instance. If you're using Claude Code on the browser or the app itself, just make a new session. Very simple. Make a new session. If I want to fix the UI flow for the homepage, that's one session. If I want to add API integrations, that's one different session, right? Once it's done, it's end complete, you close it and you go to the next one, right? Why building on terminal is probably a lot better is because you can actually have multiple like independent sessions at a time. Where on Claude Code on the app or on the browser, you can only have like one session at a time. So maybe that'll make you feel like things are going slower. Just FYI. Okay? Now, the 9th thing. This is something as someone, I don't know things. Like when I started, I don't know what DNS is. Seriously. I don't know what API connections were. Like, where do I even go and grab one? I don't know what environment variables were. I swear I didn't. And this isn't even long ago. Like this was a month ago that I started doing all of this stuff. All right? So just to show you guys, when I don't understand something, I literally just write, walk me through it. And then I'll take screenshots and I'll share step by step. And it would literally tell me what buttons to click. And then I would ask it, what is environment variables? What are API connections? What is a DNS? But all you need to do is go through something once for you to get it. So anytime now that I've been building afterwards, it's like, oh yeah, I know I have to, find a hosting website, DNS, what's a proxy server, all these, what's an environment variable, like all these different things. Like, oh, I know that if there's some sort of key, then I need to put it on that. And so you only need to go through something once for you to start learning and understanding what that is. All right. So the 10th one, if you don't want your website to look like AI slop, never use icons unless it's like intentionally in some places, but never use icons. So I'm pretty sure you guys have seen most AI generated websites, software, apps, they use the similar blue and whatever color, purple. Just avoid them at all costs. If you look at any great UI UX website, they don't use icons. So just tell it not to do that. So at least for me, that's what I don't like using it. 11th rule, commit every major change. With every task that I've mentioned earlier, make sure that you're committing, okay, before every major change. You don't want to have basically like 7 to 8 commits, and then you want to force deploy, or you want to deploy it on Vercel all at once, okay? Because then the production, which is what you have live on your website, you're then trying to fight which session was the one that made that commit change for you to go back and find how to fix it, which will be, you don't want to go through, especially if you're not technical. Like I'm not technical, and I went through that once, and I don't ever want to go through that ever again. All right, so it's just a piece of advice. Now, number 12. All right, now, so what do I mean by writing prompts as a brief? AI is smart, and it will do the things that you want it to ask, like you ask it to do. But if you're vague, it's going to go ahead and spend tokens on like the surface level, like brain, which is like very low level, which is going to give you very low quality output. You understand? Like if your input is low quality, the output will be low quality. That means the work that it's going to provide you is going to be low quality. So to define and refine your input, which is like what you're going to be using as a prompt, okay, you need to put some like purposes behind why you're doing what you want, right? So like what it is that you want, why you're doing it, what's it for, and what it should not do, okay? So keep that in mind, because that is going to filter out how it's going to go ahead and give you the output that's going to match that level of input. You know what I mean? And the output is like what it's producing after you've prompted it and sent it. Okay? And for it to give you the best level code, for it to make sure that it's giving you high quality work, and it's actually doing the deep research to find, what it is information that it needs to make sure your app has that best thing. This is how you direct prompting. All right? Okay. 13th thing is very simple. Every time that there's changes, it's going to be launching the local host. The local host is something very easy. This is like the dev server. And essentially every change that's happening, you will be able to see it live as it's doing it. And this is like a testing website before it goes to the main website, which is the production, when you deploy. So before you deploy anything, you're on this dev website, and make sure that every commit, you can go ahead and actually live see what it's doing, so that then you can communicate to Claude the things that you want fixed before you go ahead and commit and deploy it on the main website. So yeah, this is all that we have for today, and I appreciate you guys. Now that I've built AdWhisper in the last 7 days with no experience, I'm moving into my next journey, which is find and start getting paying users in the next 7 days. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to use Claude Code to get my first paying users on my app. So stay tuned for that. Cheers.